So one of the things that all of our swimmers receive when they sign up with us is this little book. It's called the Personal Record Book. In the next video, I'll be going through some of the things that we cover in terms of lead-up skills and benchmarks. But one of the nice things that's also built into the curriculum, and you'll see that it's at the back of the book, is the Starfish safety concepts. Yeah. So in the first parts of our videos, we're going to be going through a lot of our safety concepts, and then later on we'll be going through things like skills development for stroke school. So I just want to run through these 8 points, which is kind of like the core as far as the safety concept is concerned when it comes to SAI. So the first thing is the children should always ask for permission before going in or near the water. So you can see that matches something that we've put up over here. So this depends on the age group. When we teach our babies, because they can't verbalize yet that they want to climb into the water, we teach them a sign language method where they rub their tummies, and this means may I. So we encourage the parents to do this every night before bath time. So they'll ask the baby, would you like to get into the water? And they teach the baby to rub the tummy. And the reason we do that is because when that baby becomes mobile, so when they start crawling or walking, whenever they identify a body of water, regardless if it's a pool or a bathtub or a fish pond, kids tend to be very curious about water. So then they should already be in a habit of saying to mommy and daddy, I'd like to get into the water. So by rubbing the tummy, they're making the parents aware of the fact that this child has indicated that they want to get into the water. So that's typical with babies and toddlers. With our older children, they've got a really strict routine when it comes to the swim school. They know that they're not allowed to enter the pool until their coach is right there to take care of them. And so with all of the kids, after they've taken their shower, they will go to the water side and they'll ask either the water watcher or their coach if they may enter the water. And then likewise with our adults, so even though they're not children anymore, we still encourage them to not climb into the water until their coach is right there with them, because we explain to them in a real life situation that if they were swimming at home or perhaps at a friend's house, it's really not a good idea to get into the water unsupervised. So the asking for permission is what we call a layer of protection. This is ensuring that that swimmer is never in the water by themselves. And something that we have to reinforce quite a bit with our parents that bring their kids is that when the child is asked for permission to get into the water, that doesn't mean that you give them the okay and then you leave them unsupervised. The idea around this particular step is that when the child or the toddler or the baby is indicated that they want to go into the water, or even an adult, that you now have to have your eyes on them the whole time. So that means not running inside and doing a quick errand, or sitting next to the poolside and reading a book, or going through your social media on your cell phone. It means that you really have to keep your eyes on the person that's in the water. And this counts for adults as well. A lot of the times I think adults think that it's okay for them to swim independently, and I don't think they realize that they could potentially get a cramp or perhaps bump their head, or they could have a cardiac arrest. Any of those type of things can happen, and if there's not a pair of eyes that's watching them, it's going to cause a very big delay in terms of responding to that person. So that is absolutely the most important part of our layers of protection, is that constant supervision, regardless of the age of the person that's in the water. Okay, the second point in terms of the Starfish safety concept is constant supervision by a designated child watcher or adult. So in the swimming environment, depending on the age group, if we're teaching babies, they will have a parent or loved one in the water with them, so the ratio will be 1-to-1. And we're actually teaching the parent or the guardian how to work with the baby in the water rather than physically working with the babies ourselves. And that's really got to do with the fact that the babies have got obviously a strong bond with the parent or the loved one, so the process happens a lot quicker than if we were to take them by ourselves. And when we start moving over to our 3 to 5 year olds, our ratio is 4-to-1, so we'll have one instructor in the water with 4 children, and then we also add in a water watcher. So there's an extra pair of hands in the water so that we are taking care of our time on task. The kids stay really busy, but you've also got an extra pair of hands to keep them safe, because they tend to be a little bit more active at that age, maybe a slightly shorter attention span. And then as the kids start getting older, there typically will be 4 children in the class to 1 instructor, because at this stage they can normally stand, and they can also start propelling themselves in the water without being physically held in the water. And with our adults, if it's a beginner adult, we typically will have 2 adults in the water per instructor. And as they start getting to a point where they're practicing stroke techniques, then we take that back up to 4 again. And on occasion, we also ask our parents to be water watchers. So what you'll notice in the swim building is that we have quite a bit of seating area where the parents can sit and watch. We really encourage that. We want the parents to observe the lessons. Not only from a support point of view, I think it's really fantastic that they're supporting the kids through their whole path of learning to swim, but also to teach them tips about what they can do at home to keep their kids safer. So in certain instances, if we find that perhaps the kids are getting a little bit wriggly, we will typically bring a chair up to the side of the pool and we'll ask for the parents to be involved in the water watching. And this is a really good technique to show them how to be water watchers at home. And the other thing that's important to point out is that if you look at drowning incidences, a lot of the children that drown, it happens in an environment where people are socializing. So in South Africa, we really like to brine. So people get invited over to a house, they're social, they're brine. Everybody else thinks that somebody is watching the kids, and before you know it, the child has gone into the water, and it obviously can become fatal. So one of the things that we also encourage people to do is that at environments like that, where you've got a body of water and there's a lot of different people and you've got access to the pool, is to then have a designated water watcher. So this typically will be one of the parents, and they can take it in turns, so it'll be about 15 minutes, and that person's main job for that 15 minutes is to watch the body of water. Not on their cell phones, not chatting to somebody else, but really being focused on that body of water, and they can make turns, and that way you know that you've really got a good designated water watcher that's keeping everybody safe in that environment. Okay guys, the third thing on the Starfish safety concept is wearing life jackets. So in our curriculum, particularly in our red stage of our Learn to Swim, we do show all of our swimmers how to put a life jacket on and how to effectively move through the water. And although it's a tool that we use during swimming lessons, this is really to prepare them for when they leave the swimming pool environment and perhaps go boating or canoeing or go onto a cruise ship. We want for them to be able to understand the importance of why a life jacket should always be worn if you're doing any sports that's on rivers or boats or in the ocean. So by exposing them to this during their lessons, they can already understand how to wear it and the importance of wearing it when they're in those types of environments. Okay guys, the fourth thing is talking about swimming in a pool or lake, and we encourage people not to drink the water. So in our swimming pool, although we have a very clean pool, it's still a salt water pool, so you'll see especially with the smaller swimmers, they like to drink the water. And that's not ideal if they're drinking too much of the salt water, but more importantly, if they go to the ocean or they go to a lake environment, is especially to point out there that they shouldn't be drinking the water because there could be bacteria in that water and they shouldn't be digesting that. The fifth thing is enforcing a feet first entry into shallow water. Any water that is less than 2 times your height. Well, we basically work on a concept of 2 meters. If the water is shallower than 2 meters, then you certainly wouldn't do a head first dive, but then you also want to look at the topography of your pool. So you'll see, for example, if I want to go in over here, I can walk feet first down the steps. But if I'm in this environment over here, it's a little bit deeper, you can see how the pool slopes down. This side is 2.5 meters, so this would be an appropriate area to jump into the water feet first, or alternatively, if I've learned how to do a head first dive, this would be the appropriate environment to do a head first dive. I certainly cannot do a head first dive over there because that depth is 1.4 meters and that's 1.2 meters, and that's going to cause an injury. So depending on the age of the swimmer and also the ability of the swimmer, we will do feet first entries initially, and then later on when the swimmer is proficient, then we'll start teaching them to do a head first dive, and that's strictly in the deeper water. That's 2.5. Point number 6 of the safety concept is if someone is in trouble in water, reach out and throw something that floats. So we're going to have a specific session on this. This is a very, very important part of the safety concept because the first question we'll ask someone, if another swimmer is in trouble in the water, what would you do? And 99% of the time, you'll find that the person says, well, I'll jump in and help them. And that's the worst thing that you can do because then you've got 2 people in trouble. So we're going to pay a lot of attention to dealing with the swimmer in the water that's in trouble and rather throwing something to them that's going to offer them flotation. If you look at our swim facility, you'll see that there's quite a few items that you can utilize. We've got our rescue tubes, pool noodles, rocket boats, kicking boards, but we'll make that part of a separate video where we're going to show you guys how to use that. Point number 7 is to learn to swim. So what's interesting, if you look at your layers of protection, and then there's a whole lot of additional things that you can put in there as well. For example, if you have a pool at home, to put a fence around your pool, make sure that the lock on that fence is child-proof, it can't be tampered with, make sure that you cover your pool with a net. There's additional things that you can do to make your own environment more secure. But then you'll notice, if you look at the safety concepts, that learning to swim is right down at the bottom. It's point number 7. So a lot of people think that if I've taught my child to swim, or if I know how to swim, then I'm going to be safe in a water environment. And that's not necessarily the case. There's a whole lot of other things that need to be in place first. But obviously, learning to swim is a very important life skill to have. So regardless of the age, we address this early on in our curriculum, is we teach people that if they fell into the water accidentally, how to protect their airway, how to float on their back, and then inevitably how to get back to the side again. So that is an important step, but you can see it's quite low down in the list. And then the 8th thing is to learn to do CPR. So let's say in the unfortunate event that a child or adult has gone into the water and they've not successfully made it back to the side again, you might be able to save their life by stepping in and doing CPR once you've recovered them from the water. So those are the 8 steps, and you'll see that as we go through the videos, we're going to be building these 8 concepts into our curriculum. You'll see how they start becoming more important later on in the swim school and the stroke school